Today, on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat, Brian takes on repairing and customizing a 19-foot CUDA craft.
There's a deck that needs to go on this boat, there's a bilge. We need to add limber holes to all these stringers. This boat's going to be completely different than it ever was back in 2006 when it was first built.
FS boating editor George Labonte joins Jason Paul Kuhn aboard his 29-foot Wayward to learn more about his unique build.
Now, Jason has a long past with boat renovations, but how he got to start fixing boats up is a very unique story.
And the team at MCU prepares a catamaran for a one-off bow pulpit, which allows for hands-free anchoring.
I have no doubt in my mind this is going to be completely perfect. I'm going to have no issues. Steve's going to be able to bolt this windlass on, and this boat's going to be back on its way to Bimini in no time.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
All right, so we've got a new build here at the shop that we're in the middle of working on. It's a 19-foot CUDA craft. These were very famous boats back in the 60s and 70s. There was a gentleman named Ray Bond, and he developed this boat, and it was an awesome backcountry boat, and it did really well in rough water as well. And I'm actually excited about working on it because there's some things I see that can be corrected and fixed. This is not one of the original boats from back in the 60s and 70s. These boats were actually reconstructed and came back to life back in the early 2000s with all new types of materials and composites. But as I'm finding out, they didn't do such a good job rebuilding these boats the second go around. He just purchased this boat, and I don't understand. The boat's not that old, and I kind of find it odd that the tank's leaking. Maybe a bad sender or something. We're gonna have to make some modifications, and we're gonna have to put this boat back to what the original boats were, and actually a little better. We're gonna bring this up to marine custom standards. So once Roberto started cutting a small area, we noticed that there was a bunch of foam underneath the deck. Now, at first we thought there might have been a soft spot in the deck, but they actually just built a liner on a mold and laid it over top of the stringers and poured foam inside the hull. That's not a good thing. There's actually not a lot of rigidity or support because this foam is floating and moving all around, which is giving you the feel of a soft deck, but it's actually not. This is solid fiberglass, and there's nothing rotten or soft about it. The boat's got composite core in it, and there is no wood. But the way they put it together is completely wrong. They just did pour foam, and it was totally inconsistent, and it was in some places all the way to the bottom of the floor, and in some areas it had big air voids and gaps. And there was nowhere for the water to go. So it was literally just saturated and sitting down inside the boat once it got down there, and didn't have anywhere to go until it evaporated. That's ridiculous. This boat was probably waterlogged and carrying around hundreds of pounds of weight that it just didn't have to. It was a nightmare. I spent days just cutting in, removing piece by piece at a time, just to find out that the stringers weren't even bonded to the hull of the boat. This was unbelievable to me. I've seen this before in production boats, where they're trying to make things happen faster than they should, but this was ridiculous. These stringers were not bonded at all. They probably weren't bonded from day one. This boat's just been driving around and floating around with a bunch of foam in between the deck and the hull, and I'm kind of really surprised. The condition of this boat, it didn't look that way when it first pulled up here at the shop. So I had to reach out to him and get an okay, because this is all work that we had no idea was going to come about. Once I got an okay, I was able to start putting the stringers back in the boat. When this boat first arrived at my shop, you would have never imagined that the stringers were never bonded into the hull properly. We've had to grind every square inch of the stringer and the hull area that we're going to bond with these new laminations of glass. There's a major, major difference between qualities of materials out in the industry. If you don't have the right product or the right quality of that product, you could have all kinds of problems and issues. I think that might be part of what's going on with this boat. There's all types of bonding issues. The stringers are pretty solid. Everything's hand-laid, laminated. It's all good, except the way it was all processed and put together. It's not done properly, and it might have been not the best of products. Now, I reached out to my friends at Fiberglass Coatings. They're actually supplying us with all type of high-end quality materials now, and we're not gonna have an issue with this bonding. This thing's gonna hit the water and break through the waves the way it was designed and originally intended to back in the 60s and 70s. This boat's going to be completely different than it ever was back in 2006 when it was first built. We've got to get the boat put back together. There's all kinds of things I need to do. There's a deck that needs to go in this boat. There's a bilge. We need to add limber holes to all these stringers. I'm not filling this boat up with foam again. I want water to get into the bilges. I want water to get out of the bilges.
When we return, FS boating editor George Labonte joins Dreamboat owner Jason Paul Kuhn aboard his 29-foot Wayward in this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment. This segment brought to you by Bennett, superior by design.
50 years ago, Bennett Marine changed boating forever, inventing the trim tab, helping boaters get on plane faster, reduce bow rise, correct listing, improve efficiency, and increase performance. Over 1 million systems later, worldwide, we offer durable and dependable trim tabs and hatch lifters for all boat sizes. Your only source for both hydraulic and electric systems. Industry-leading innovation, plus the best warranty and service available. Get Bennett on board and enjoy the ride.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us for this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment with Florida Sportsman boating editor George Labonte as we feature anglers who have already launched their dream. Florida Sportsman began these features 30 years ago, and the dreams just keep getting better.
This week, we meet up with Jason Paul Kuhn and his whole family to check out his very unique 29-foot Wayward. Now, it wasn't an ideal day, but we found a gap in the weather, which gave us a chance to get this boat on the water and check it out. Now, Jason has a long past with boat renovations, but how he got to start fixing boats up is a very unique story.
All through college, my mom was putting pressure on me to get a part-time job, and I didn't really want to work at a restaurant or a McDonald's or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with that, it's just that really wasn't my type of personality. I loved boats. So I'd literally take my student loan check that I'd get in the beginning of every year and also in the middle of every year and at the end of every year, and I'd go buy a boat 3 times a year. And I'd work on that boat in my mom's garage, and I'd restore it, and I would sell it at the end of each quarter or each half a year, and that would pay for my tuition, and that would also pay for my hourly. So I had a Dusky, a Mako, and a Grady White all at once. And I had them all at each one of my friends' houses, and I was working on all 3 of them simultaneously throughout the school year. And finally, that's when my mom said, you got to figure out what you're going to do with all these boats because I can't get in my garage, I can't do my laundry. And that's when I started buying and selling and flipping boats. And now I'm on my 26th boat. So
Jason found himself eyeing another project, but the timing on this one was a little sensitive. To pull this build off, he was going to have to get the green light from his better half.
Jason shows me this Facebook post of a boat that I just start shaking my head going, no, 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 no. Because I've been through this too many times with him. It
was the biggest piece of junk not the biggest piece of junk I've ever seen, but the biggest piece of junk a lot of people on Facebook have ever seen. And I saw great potential in it. I called the guy up immediately, said, listen, don't sell it to anybody. I'll be there tomorrow with the money. I picked it up. I got the blessing from my wife, and the only way I got the blessing from my wife was because we were in the process of planning a wedding. So I said, if I give you your wedding, can I have my boat?
He brings it to the shop and he starts telling me everything that needs to be done, and I'm like, hold on, you realize we are planning a wedding. In less than a year, we're getting married. We have people coming in from all over, and you're focused on this boat. I resented the boat the whole time. I pretty much cursed it every day. But when it was done, I was like, wow, this is awesome. The family's gonna love it. You know, the girls, Christopher, I love it. And so that's really it.
It comes pretty apparent that a lot of the work that I need to do isn't gonna be able to be accomplished by myself with a full-time job, with a new addition to my family. Christopher was a little bit over a year at that time, so I really didn't have that much free time.
At this stage in Jason's life, he didn't have the flexible schedule he once had. It was going to be necessary for him to enlist some help from the outside.
We originally thought we'd be able to salvage some of the floor and the decking, but once we really dug into it, we determined that everything on the boat needs to be replaced. The only things that were still good on the boat were the main stringers and the transom and the exterior shell and part of the top cap. So we pretty much built it up from the floor up from there. Instead of replacing the bulkheads, we just basically made a foam-filled boat, and we had 2 main stringers going through it as well. And we left the fiberglass gas tank in there for structural support, and then added a 100-gallon aluminum gas tank as well. We used fiberglass composite decking material. We powder coated the aluminum T-top. We also powder coated the leaning post. We picked out paints, we painted everything. And then I started thinking about canvas work, cushions. Slowly started adding more and more stuff to it. Trim tabs, electrical reel outlets, GPS, transducer, live well, plumb the live well, all those little knick-knack things. But now I also wanted a single motor. I didn't want twice the problems. It's nice to have the reliability of twins, but we knew that it wasn't going to be a Bahama boat. It was an interesting process because I kind of had to be in the back seat more so than in the front seat and allow the people to do the work on the boat without me kind of micromanaging them. And it was definitely different. It was a lot more work from the organizational standpoint.
Jason is a very avid fisherman, but unfortunately on this day we weren't able to get offshore. Nevertheless, we were able to take the boat for a ride in the river, and it was apparent that this was going to be a perfect boat for his family.
So when we take it out, it's really important that I can tow it with my Toyota Tundra, and that it's fuel efficient, and it's easy to launch and also put back on the trailer all by myself, because when I'm with the family, I very rarely ever have any help. But we like to take the boat to the sandbar with the family. The boat has a lot of cushions, it's very comfortable. It gets in the shallow water, so if it gets beached, whenever I'm at the sandbar and the tide's going out, it's really nice to be able to kind of push it off by myself, whereas if it was a larger boat, it would be more difficult for me to kind of maneuver through the shallows. Most of the time when people see the boat at the boat ramp, they're always saying, that is one heck of a unique boat. I've never seen a boat like that before. Where is it from? What's it about? Tell me a little bit about it. And as soon as I get through the whole entire story, I realize that I've got a very unique boat. This boat, no one that I'm aware of really has this boat. I've scoured the internet, haven't been able to find any information on the Waywards. No one tries to sell them. From a unique standpoint, it's pretty much one of a kind.
Now, having 3 little kids on the boat's bound to get dirty, and I know Jason appreciated the gift from Surehold to keep the boat tight. Now, he might not have been as hands-on with this project as he had been on all these other projects in the past, but what he ended up with, I'm sure he's proud of.
After spending $2,500 on the hull and $40,000 on repairs and custom modifications, the cost of Jason's Dreamboat comes to a total of approximately $42,500. When we return, the fiberglass crew works on building a brand new deck for the 19-foot CUDA Craft project. This segment brought to you by TNT Custom Boat Works, specializing in the design and manufacturing of quality marine products. At Marine Customs Unlimited, our professionally trained staff is committed to making all your boating dreams come true while providing unmatched attention to detail and quality. Specializing in custom boat building and modifications, fiberglass and gel coat repairs, insurance claims, upholstery and canvas work, custom dash panels, Yamaha outboard sales and service, and more. Marine Customs Unlimited. You dream it, we build it. Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join the fiberglass crew at MCU as they build a custom deck for the 19-foot CUDA Craft project.
So the CUDA Craft project's really moving along. Roberto and the guys did an awesome job with the stringers and the limber holes, and it's actually time to start to address this deck situation. I'm not filling this boat up with foam again. They were actually using the foam to help support this little thin laminated deck that they've laid up in a mold. I'm gonna build a solid cord deck. We're actually gonna use a kiln-dried laminated fir. It's a marine plywood. It's pretty expensive, but it adds weight to the boat. This boat's kind of light. Taking all that foam out and weight, I don't want to take away from the ride and the quality. There's 2 things I always say you can't substitute in a boat for the quality of ride. That's the weight and the length. This boat doesn't really have the length, so I don't want to take too much of the weight away. This thing's going to be used offshore and inshore. It's got plenty of beam to keep the draft shallow. I want to keep enough weight in the boat to have a quality ride.
To begin the process of creating a brand new deck section, first a template is created and placed onto a freshly waxed flats table, establishing the needed work area. Then, gel coat is mixed to match the boat's interior color and sprayed onto the table. This will eventually be removed and serve as the top side of the deck. Once dry, large pieces of fiberglass mat are cut to size and laid on top of the fresh gel coat. A paint roller is used to cover the large surface area with resin, while a fiberglass roller is used to remove trapped air from under the mat. Next, a layer of fiberglass cloth is applied over the mat, soaked with resin and evenly rolled out with paint and fiberglass rollers. The bonding agent is spread onto the dried fiberglass with a trowel to create an even layout. This ensures no dry spots, which could cause delamination. Once fully applied, the core material, a perforated marine plywood, is laid in place. Next, a suction hose is placed on the table. A double-sided tape is attached around the perimeter of the core, which is used to fasten the plastic vacuum bagging material. Once an airtight seal has been established, the powerful suction forces the bonding agent through the core, creating an unbreakable bond to the layers of fiberglass and gel coat beneath it. After removing the plastic, the core is ground smooth, removing any excess bonding agent that was pulled through from the suction. Then, multiple large sections of fiberglass cloth are cut out and placed on top of the deck layout. Resin is poured and rolled out onto the core and in between each layer of fiberglass. After the final layer has been added, a fiberglass roller is used to remove any air trapped beneath the surface. When completely dry, the deck is carefully pried from the table, and a saw is used to cut off excess gel coat material. Once fully trimmed, the deck is ready for install.
So now that Roberto and the guys got the deck done, it's time to get to the main reason the boat came here originally. It's to put this new custom fuel tank I had TNT build me in the hull of the boat. Roberto and the guys are going to glass this thing in, seal all the foam up. Originally I said there's not going to be any foam, but we have to foam the tank in. There's going to be a minimal amount of foam, but it's going to be completely sealed, so we don't have to worry about water getting in and causing the tank to prematurely rot out. This tank's also powder coated, and that's going to help with the longevity. This tank's going to outlast the rest of this boat, even though we built it. Once that was glassed in, it was time to put the rigging tubes in and set the deck section in place. Once the deck was set in place, it was glued and bonded in and glassed all around the perimeter. Now it was time to move on to the next set of the projects. Originally, when the customer came in, he had all kinds of cosmetic issues he wanted to address, but he also had some functional things, like the customization of his console.
When we come back, Brian sets out to have a custom bow pulpit made for a Bahamas-bound catamaran. This segment brought to you by Engel, the best performance coolers on the market.
Some of us, well, we're just not meant to be around other people. We're just fine with our own company. No distractions. Quiet. But this is my time.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us as Brian at MCU prepares a catamaran for a one-off bow pulpit, which allows for hands-free anchoring.
So I recently had a real good friend of mine reach out to me and tell me that he's ready to have this bow pulpit installed on his boat. He's been asking me now for like 2 or 3 years about a windlass. I've been avoiding it, to be honest with you. It's going to be a pain in the butt. It's a catamaran, so it's got a big flat bow, and there's nowhere to really mount a pulpit on the boat unless you totally custom build it. If I've got to custom build this out of fiberglass, it's probably going to take me a couple of weeks. I don't have the time to work on this boat. So I made a decision to reach out to my buddy TJ at TNT. I know that he's going to be able to come up with a really cool design and be able to fabricate what I need, but that way I can just drop the boat off, I can go and pick it up, then I can just get Steve to install this windlass up on the deck of the boat, and I can get the boat out of here, and he can get on his way back over to the Bahamas. All right, so this is what we got. It's not gonna be the prettiest thing in the world, because it's gonna be sticking out of the bow of this big square looking boat, but we need a functional windlass on the bow of this guy's boat. He's diving all the time, he's in the Bahamas a lot, and sometimes just him and his wife, and they just don't have the ability to be pulling the anchor. So I'm gonna do a deck mount windlass with a drum on top, so they don't have to monkey with a line and everything, but I have no pulpit. So instead of me having to build something out of fiberglass, I was thinking something out of aluminum, fabricated, where I could house this pulley system. If we can mount this up in here, I'd like to come out a couple of feet.
24 inches probably work?
Probably in that ballpark, because my anchor is going to be at this angle right here, so I've got plenty of clearance.
Yeah, I think that'll work fine. 24 inches long. and we'll do an aluminum plate on top with a cutout for this to drop right down inside of, and powder coat that plate so it matches the boat real nice. And
So you'll have the whole thing all done completely.
It'll be done. You won't have to do anything but just bolt it on the boat when it's done.
I was gonna say if you made it and you had some little tabs, I could make a starboard top for it, but that's even more work for me.
Yeah, this will be, I mean, it'll look really nice when it's done, clean, simple.
No, and it's powder
Functional.
coated and it's done. What's all I gotta do is get Steve to bolt it on the boat and then it's done.
Through bolted with maybe a backing plate inside or something, and you'll be done. It'll be real nice when it's done.
All right, let's get it done.
All right, sir.
Thanks, man. So after talking to TJ and getting his thoughts on it, I have no doubt in my mind this is gonna be completely perfect. I'm gonna have no issues. Steve's gonna be able to bolt this windlass on, and this boat's gonna be back on its way to Bimini in no time.
To begin creating a fully custom bow pulpit, first the mounting plate is formed. The material of choice, heavy-duty aluminum sheet metal, is cut, bent to match the angle of the bow, and trimmed to size. Next, the main section of the pulpit is created. Each angle is drawn, cut, and bent to give the final product smooth, symmetrical lines that are not only functional, but enhance the overall look of the boat. Once satisfied with the design, the mounting plate is tacked to the main section of the pulpit. Then, using only hand tools, the front section of the pulpit is shaped and formed. With all three aluminum pieces of the pulpit complete, each section is fully welded together from the inside and the outside, ensuring a high-strength bond. Once the welding is complete, the pulpit is cooled with fresh water. To give the pulpit the look and feel of one continuous piece of aluminum, the exterior welds are ground perfectly smooth. Next, the center of the pulpit is drilled and cut, providing a space for the line roller to bolt into. Once complete, it's on to powder coating.
So as always, TJ didn't let me down. He banged that pulpit out immediately, and it was perfect. It was just as I thought. It's gonna bolt right on the bow of that boat. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3. Steve's gonna have this thing ready. The boat's gonna be back to Bimini in no time, and my buddy's gonna be super happy.
Next week on Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. At MCU, the Catamaran project gets prepared for a test run with its new anchoring system, finally complete. The owner of the 21-foot Paramount project joins Brian for a high-speed sea trial. FS boating editor George Labonte joins a Dreamboat owner who fully restored and customized a boat that was left for trash. And the Kudu Craft project receives its finishing touches in the fiberglass bay. The filming of Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat has been shot on location at Marine Customs Unlimited. You dream it, we build it. If you've completed or working on your own dreamboat, we'd love to hear about it. Email George at george.labonte@outdoorsg.com, and we might just feature your project on the show.